They say your life doesn't change all at once, it tilts. Just slightly. Like a picture frame coming loose from the wall. You don't notice the shift when it happens. You notice it when it falls. But when I think about where everything began, I always go back to that afternoon, the one that smelled like rain on warm pavement and roasted coffee beans. I was sitting outside a little cafe I couldn't really afford to eat at, pretending to read a book I wasn't actually reading. It was one of those soft, lazy Sundays that make you feel like life might still have surprises left. The kind of day where the light hits just right, and for a moment, you feel like maybe you're in the opening scene of something good. I remember brushing crumbs off my lap, reaching for my phone, and hearing a voice, deep, unhurried, and too confident to be casual.
"You dropped this,"
he said. When I looked up, he was holding my bookmark, the corner of a receipt I hadn't even realized had fallen. There was something about him that made the air feel different, not tense, just charged. Like the moment right before a storm or a kiss. His eyes lingered when they met mine, not in a way that made me shrink, but in a way that made me curious. He smiled, that kind of half-smile people do when they already know they've got your attention. "Thanks," I said, and reached for the paper. But he didn't hand it over immediately.
"Do you always read sad books on happy days?"
he asked, glancing at the cover. I laughed. It's the only kind that feel honest. That was the first time he made me laugh without trying too hard. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fake. It just felt easy. He asked if he could sit for a minute, only a minute, he said, and I didn't say no. We talked about small things at first. The weather, the book, the kind of music we both liked. But then, somehow, we were talking about bigger things. About loneliness. About feeling like you were always too much and not enough at the same time. He told me he'd just moved to the city. That he didn't know many people. That he worked late, slept little, thought too much. I told him I understood that kind of tired, the kind that sleep doesn't fix. And when he smiled at that, I swear the world went quiet. When he finally stood up to leave, he said,
"You are easy to talk to, people don't make me feel like that."
It sounded simple, but something in the way he said it made me want to hear it again. I gave him my number before I even thought about it. The first text came that same night. "It's me. The bookmark thief." I laughed out loud, lying in bed, staring at the screen longer than I should have. I texted back something equally simple, and somehow, we didn't stop texting until after midnight. The next morning, he sent me a picture of his coffee and wrote, "Good morning, peace." I didn't understand the nickname then, but it stuck. At first, it was all little things. Random check-ins. Voice notes saying he was thinking of me. Memes. Songs. Tiny digital threads weaving something bigger. I told my friends I'd met someone. They teased me, said it was just a talking stage. I said maybe it was more. I didn't know why I felt that way, I just did. When we met again, it felt like déjà vu, like we'd already done this before in another life. The conversation flowed like we were just picking up where we left off. He listened like the world didn't exist beyond my voice. He had this habit of tilting his head slightly when I spoke, as if my words carried secrets he was trying to memorize. He told me about his childhood, how his mother used to hum old soul records while cleaning, how his father was quiet but firm, how he hated arguments because they reminded him of home. I told him about my mother's laugh, about my father's absence, about my fear of being seen and left anyway. He didn't look away when I said it. He reached for my hand and said,
"You don't have to be afraid with me."
That's how he got me, not with grand gestures, but with safety. Or at least, what I thought was safety. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into habits. He'd text before sunrise, call during lunch, show up after work with dinner already ordered. I'd tell him not to fuss, but secretly, I loved it. I loved being thought of. Being chosen. Being someone's piece. He said I made him feel calm in a world that always wanted something from him. He said I reminded him of silence, the good kind, the kind that rests you. I thought that was beautiful. I thought that meant love. But looking back, I realize he didn't want calm. He wanted control disguised as calm. The first time I saw the shadow behind his smile, it was so small I almost missed it. We were at a friend's birthday dinner. I was laughing at something someone said, and when I looked at him, he wasn't laughing. Just watching. Quiet. Later that night, he said,
You get loud when you drink. You know that?
I apologized instinctively. He said,
I'm not mad, baby. I just like you better when it's just us.
He kissed me after that, slow, tender, forgiving. And I let that be enough. Then came the other small things. He'd say, you don't have to hang out with them, they don't really get you. Or, why do you dress like that? You don't need attention from anyone else. Or, I only worry because I love you. And every time he'd say it softly. Every time he'd hold me after. Every time he'd call me his piece. I thought it was love. I thought he cared too much. I thought love was supposed to be intense, that it was supposed to consume you. But love shouldn't feel like disappearing. I started saying no to things. Friends stopped calling. My mother said I was hard to reach. My world shrunk until it was just him, his moods, his needs, his apologies. And every night, before bed, he'd whisper, you're the only one who understands me. And every night, I'd think, maybe that's enough. Now, lying here in this hospital bed, machines humming beside me, I replay those early days over and over, the sunlight, the coffee, the laughter, the first text, the nickname. They were beautiful moments, I can't lie. But beauty can be a trap. People ask, why didn't you leave? But they never ask, what did you believe? I believed love could fix what was broken. I believed love meant staying. I believed love could save us both. I didn't see it then, the way love can start like sunlight, only to burn you alive.